that, you scrub. Out here on the internet, it's Shadow Hunter 44, and I'm here reviewing Cannon. And right now we're just playing some Fortnite in the background so I can explain this currently. I'm showing him. So that's happening.
There's one all the way at the volcano.
Alright, so now let us start our frame. We zoom down, see the car is covered in blood, and as well as bloody footprints coming up to the door, and then it fades to white. We then see the Creed family moving to Ludlow, Maine, in their car with Lewis Creed, the father,
You just have the word Ellie.
and Ellie Creed, which is one of the daughters, and Gage Creed, which is a 2-year-old brother of Ellie. So they're moving to Ludlow, Maine, having a conversation, and then they get to the house. Lewis lets Ellie get inside the house first. They look inside the house, like not much eventful happens. Then Lewis goes to his job at the university as a doctor. Actually, no, something about comes before that, my bad. So then Ellie wants to go and look around, but her mother says no and tells her to stay in the house. So Ellie doesn't want to they see people while they're unpacking. They see people with animal masks on doing some sort of burial ritual with a dog that had been hit by an Orinco truck out on the road. And Ellie is astounded by this, as is her mother. And basically, the mother tells Ellie to go back inside and not to mess around with him because it could be dangerous. But of course, Ellie does not listen and goes out to the burial ground. She then stumbles across the Pet Sematary and tries to go across the deadfall, but a bee sting stops her. Then another man named Judd Crandall comes in and decides to help Ellie by removing her bee sting. Then Ellie's mother comes over and scolds her for being outside and why she didn't tell her and stuff. Basically, a random scolding that you would usually get for going outside without your mother's permission, basically. And Ellie goes back home with her mother after being introduced to one of the other main characters, Judd Crandall, which I mentioned before. The next thing that happens is we pan to Lewis Creed at his job, which is at a college campus in Ludlow, of course, because this is where the story takes place. And he starts treating some flared tonsils. It skips to him getting that all done, wanting to go out for lunch. Somebody is already picking up sandwiches, but then a girl who was outside is basically screaming bloody murder, while someone else is outside because a student named Victor Pascal was hit by a car and was in a car accident. They bring him in, and Victor Pascal is not in really a good place at the minute because he has blood all over him. Half of his head is ripped off to show his brain for some stupid reason. I have no idea why. And basically, Lewis tries to save him, but he ultimately fails, and Victor dies from his fatal wounds. Then, a few minutes later, he reawakens and gives a warning to Lewis, telling him not to break the barrier. Lewis, of course, is startled by this and jumps back. Then, after a few minutes, he looks over and sees Victor Pascal still dead. The nurse comes in, asks him what's wrong, and he said that Victor had died, and basically that's as much as we hear about that for the minute. Then what happens is we basically have Judd Crandall meeting the family, and basically, does anybody know that one Nutcracker dance, the Sugar Plum Fairy dance? You know that, boy?
No.
Well, it's basically this dance from the Nutcracker when it first came out and whatever crap. So Ellie's doing that dance for the family, and basically Judd Crandall was invited over for dinner and bullcrap. And I'm just basically skimming over the unimportant parts and getting right to the juicy parts that set up some of the story. And then after that, no blood yet. Soon though. Then after that,
how come a guy's already dead?
Oh well, forgot about Victor for a minute. Then after going to her bedroom, Ellie, who was a 9-year-old at the time, actually 8-year-old, my bad. The 9-year-old stuff like really gets in. You'll see later. So basically, Ellie is in a room asking her parents about death, Eric, because of what had happened to Victor and stuff. So, and her father gives her this long talk about like how humans and animals have a clock in them that predicts their lifespan. Humans have a long clock and animals have a short clock because she's worrying about church and she don't want him to die. Then his father says that he'll be around for a long time and no need to worry. So then Ellie goes to bed. The parents talk for a little bit, say that they don't want to expose the child to death, and basically it's almost the end of that. Then
they should
we have then we look, and we have a flashback scene with Ellie's mother, well, the mother Creed of the family, looking back with her dead sister Zelda, who had spinal meningitis. I think that's I'm saying that right. Spinal meningitis for her, and for her last couple of days she was really angry and mean. Then we get this foreshadowing of what will happen and what basically haunts her. So basically her sister, who had spinal meningitis and was really evil during the time, tells her that she will soon get it and will never be able to get out of bed again. This then sets up for the part where there is a scare during that, and there's a earth. Then what I'm trying to rack this in my brain, skimming through the unimportant details. Then we skip to Halloween. Yeah. Then we skip to Halloween of, I don't know the date really, but I don't care. Then we skip to Halloween. Cannon, stop when I'm trying to record a video. That's dumb. Then we skip to the Creed family on Halloween. Ellie is dressed as a witch with her 2 other friends who are ghosts. And then Judd Crandall motions for Lewis to come to him. They go over, and then Judd Crandall shows Lewis the remains of Church the cat, which is the family's cat at the time, who was hit by an Orinco truck on the highway. And he doesn't want to show Ellie because Ellie is very emotionally invested in the cat. So they just go ahead. So Judd Crandall says to meet him tonight and deal with it. So that was ominous, very, very ominous. Then what happened is they tell Ellie that Church ran away and is most likely not going to come back. So that would give Judd and Lewis time to bury Church in the Pet Sematary. What then happens is that Judd Crandall decides that since he had an emotional bond with Ellie ever since he met her, he decides to put Church in the cursed burial ground and not in the Pet Sematary. He takes Lewis to the cursed burial ground to bury Church. They then bury Church, or Lewis buries Church, because the ceremony won't work unless you bury the pet yourself. Then Lewis asks why the Pet Sematary wasn't okay, and he said, "This is the best place to bury your pet because it has good soil." He makes up an excuse. But of course, this movie's main villain, the Wendigo, which is putting all of these events into motion, tricked Judd into taking him to the burial ground. They then bury Church, and then Dylan, go back to the beginning of the stream. It'll Hit out, boy. It's the family's cat, Church's. Church is the family cat. They then bury Church in the cursed burial ground, and they call it a night. Then the next morning they say that Church has ran away and will most likely never come back. But then Ellie tells them that Church came back in the night, and also that he is in the closet. Lewis then opens the closet, and it is revealed that Church is inside the closet. That is in the closet. Church hisses at the father. His fur, of course, is all muddy because of the burial ground, and he has blood all over him from where he was hit by the car.
What, Dylan's in the stream?
Well, how about answering it?
Hi, boy. I did, I thought.
I didn't really have to end like this time.
Hello? Nothing. He's in the stream anyway, he can talk. He then the Church then it cuts to Church being brushed by Ellie, where she says that something is gross in Church's fur, which is because of the which is because of Church. Cannon, stop it. I'm trying to recount a movie. I'm about to moo at you. Okay, I'm just gonna like leave now. Alright. Then what happens after that is Ellie is brushing Church, as I said, and the dirt that is gross in Ellie's words is where he was buried in the ground at the cursed burial ground. Then Church gets angry and then claws Ellie on the arm, making a pretty decent sized scratch. Ellie then runs to her room. Her father Lewis then stretches, I don't know what, wraps up the body and wraps up the arm in gauze and tells her that it'll be better. And then we go to, okay, I'm gonna skip some banter and useless jump scares, and we're gonna go to Ellie's. Afterwards, Church then attacks Lewis, and he decides to put Church somewhere where he can't hurt his family. He drives out near the country of Ludlow and drops Church there, and then drives away back to his home. We then skip up to Ellie's 9th birthday, and this is where crap gets real, guys. Church is then back. Her dad is blindfolded playing hide and seek with the other kids, so he doesn't see her go to the road. She then sees Church, runs to him, and crouches in the middle of the road, which is the stupidest decision anybody could make in their life, but I'm not going to judge that now. It then happens that Gage goes to the road, seeing Ellie, and a truck is coming. Lewis screams to Gage to get out of the road. He picks up Gage at the last second, not knowing that Ellie is there too. The truck driver swerves to not hit Gage, but then and swerves away. It hits a tree, I think. I think the cab hits a tree. Then the gas tank on the back of the Arinco truck hits Ellie head on, killing her instantly. The mother is there first. Then Lewis is there before Lewis. Blood all over her hands and blood on the doll she got for her birthday, for her 9th birthday. And the father cradling in his arms, crying, of course, because like his daughter just died. Come on. We then skip to the funeral where he looks at Judd Crandall, and you can tell that he is thinking of burying Ellie in the cursed burial ground. He then tries to take Judd out of the equation by giving him putting sleeping medicine in the drinks they're taking. Judd drinks it and falls asleep. He digs up Ellie from the grave, her grave in the cemetery, and takes her across the deadfall to the cursed burial ground, where he then buries her with the same ritual he did for church. What then happens is Ellie is reborn, and another warning from Victor Pascal tells him that the barrier has been broken. Afterwards, Ellie appears behind him, and then Lewis starts bathing Ellie, then brushing her hair, and noticing the stitches that were in the back of her head to hold her together during the funeral. She asked what was wrong, and he said there is just a tangle. Then I'm going to skip a little bit up, so we are back to present day. Judd comes to their house thinking that Lewis buried Ellie in the cursed burial ground, which he did, but Judd doesn't know that. He then goes, Judd tells him that Ellie upstairs. He then runs back to his house. We see Ellie getting a scalpel out of her father's briefcase. Judd then gets a gun and is back in his house, searching everywhere for Ellie. He then walks down the stairs thinking everything is okay. Then he hears something behind him, turns around, and Church is at the top of the stairs. He laughs it off, thinking that Church was the only one, but then Ellie appears, cutting into his foot and slashing it back. He then writhes in pain while the gun goes off, not harming anything because it was in a misdirected shot. Ellie then has a monologue of how he tried to revive his wife Norma out of with the burial ground. Ellie says that they're in pain and basically kills that Judd right there on the spot. Yellow. Hello, Dylan, man. Just a minute, please.
So, like, basically, who's the villain of the story? I'm confused. I am confusion. I'm watching your stream right now. I'm about to type free. Dylan, get on Fortnite. Get on Fortnite.
Alright guys, we have a Mr. Dill Pickle 5087 joining us via phone. Dylan, say hey, boy. So, continuing on with the storyline, we have, basically, go back to the beginning of the video and watch it if you have to, boy. So, basically what happens is, then, after Judd is dead, the mom and Gage come home from when they left because they were grieving about Ellie's death, of course. No, there's no Lily. It was a mispronounced speech, Dylan. No. It's Ellie, boy. It's Ellie. Yeah, there you go. Ellie Creed. We're talking about Pet Sematary here. Alright, so
something?
No, it's a movie, boy. Go back to the beginning of that stream and watch if you have to, my man. We then cut.
Go to a pet cemetery.
I didn't. I watched a movie. I'm doing a spoiler review on it.
Where is this pet cemetery? It's a horror movie.
You then get that straightened.
Movie.
Yes.
Ready up.
No.
Man, ready up.
No. I'm doing a review right now.
What's I doing?
Where have I heard that name before?
It. Maybe. It. Alright, I'm gonna continue now. We then go to where the mother and Gage come home from when his mother went to her grandma's house. We then see Ellie coming back to her mom, and her mom being, of course, shaken up about it because she's her daughter who was dead a couple days ago is now in the house with her again alive. Like, of course somebody's gonna be spooked about that.
In the house with a dog?
There ain't no dog, it's a cat. Church. It's a cat.
Are you selling dog?
No, it's a hat.
No, I'm not selling popcorn. What do you mean?
Are you selling pie?
Alright, so after that, the mother goes to her room, offending Ellie, of course, because, like, crap. And Gage is sitting there. She then has a vision of her being in her sister Zelda's position. In her sister Zelda's position. And her having spinal meningitis. Then she wakes up to see Gage staring at something. Ellie then attacks her mother, of course. Oh my god. Watch the beginning of the video, Dylan, and you'll find out.
Is Ellie a cat?
No, it's a person.
Is Ellie a dog?
No, it's a person.
Oh, the little parakeet?
Cut it up. After killing her mother, of course, because, like, crap happens. It's a dead daughter, and of course, with demonic spirit in her, so of course she's gonna kill her family.
If you like it,
crap!
hang up and try again. If you need help, hang up and then dial your operator. Thank you.
And the battery died! Dang it! Alright, well, I'm just gonna keep going. We then cut. Dylan, what happened?
The power button I had up on, yeah.
Oh, wow. Alright. Well, I did a little bit more scenage. Lewis Creed then runs upstairs and is knocked out by Ellie. She then drags her mother to the cursed burial ground, burying her off screen. Ellie then confronts her father in the pet cemetery, of course with a knife. She stabs her father, and then there is a back and forth fight happening. When he tries to strangle zombie Ellie, and basically he has...
When do we get to that part? Back up.
I'm not backing up, Dylan. When she was reborn from the pet cemetery, when he buried her in the cursed burial ground, that's when she became a zombie. There you go.
That escalated quickly.
Dylan, go back to the beginning of the stream.
I'm not watching the video. I'm talking to you.
Exactly. Well, go back to the video after I'm done streaming it. Then what happens is he has a cross, basically, he grabbed from one of the cemetery things, is about to stab zombie Ellie. It's from a grave of a pet. He is about to stab zombie Ellie, but then one of them crow things on the top of barns, you know them? The mother zombie, then stabs Lewis with it. And then Lewis is taken to the cursed burial ground after stabbed. Gage, during all this, is locked in the car, safe.
Can we bury you in the cursed burial ground?
Only if I'm killed, Dylan. Then what happens is there's a zombie family of 3. Lewis, the mother, and Ellie all coming to Gage. Lewis comes up to the car window. Gage, thinking it's the actual Lewis, I'm presuming. You hear, basically what happens is you hear the unlock sound of the car, and the movie cuts to the credits. You don't know what happens after the car is unlocked. We can only speculate. What I think happened is that Gage was killed by them again and taken to the cursed burial ground, so we have an undead family of 4. Well, that was my spoiler Pet Sematary review, everyone. Thank you for watching. I'll do more of these later. The next one will be Hellboy.
Hey.